Welcome to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. In many ways, it's been an impossible week to describe around here. The devastation to the New York metropolitan area, and especially here in New Jersey. Many folks are calling this a much-needed distraction from reality. What better way than 3 hours of the Steelers and the Giants to make things seem normal, albeit even if it's ever so briefly. Just a moment ago, very emotional playing of the national anthem here by Megan Hilty. Hello friends, Jim Nance along with Phil Simms here at MetLife Stadium getting set for the Steelers and the Giants. And partner, you've been a resident here in New Jersey for some 34 years. Have you ever seen anything like this past week?
No, I really haven't, Jim. In all the years that I've lived here, I've seen a lot of friends have some tough times. And I think as you talk about it, we know that sports, it has a unique quality to it. It can make people forget what's going on. I just say all the people out there with your troubles, sit back for a couple hours, enjoy this game, because I think it's going to be terrific.
This game is being brought to you in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. So the Giants won the toss and want the football to begin things with David Wilson, the rookie who's been a fine returner, standing in the middle of the end zone. And he'll step up a couple of yards and take off from the goal line. And another nice return by Wilson, the rookie from Virginia Tech, brought down by Ryan Monday after a 30-yard run back. Today, Eli Manning with 120 yards will reach a milestone number, 30,000 in his career. His line has protected the quarterback better than any offensive front in the league. There's Deal returning today to right tackle. Eli's been sacked only 6 times, and Cruz is on pace for over 100 catches this season, backing up his monster season of a year ago. So with 6 offensive linemen to start, and a deep ball right away, and the pass in and out of the hands of Hakeem Nicks. Keenan Lewis came over to knock it away.
Well, a couple things you got to worry about. The Steelers, they know when you play the Giants, look at that protection that Eli Manning gets. Don't let him get deep. First play, Hakeem Nicks has Keenan Lewis beat. The ball is not thrown across the field enough. What a recovery by Keenan Lewis. Giants love to throw the football vertically. In other words, deep down the field. They're good at it.
2nd and 10. There's the catch for the first down. It's Victor Cruz in his matchup there with Ike Taylor, and going for a nice game.
Well, Victor Cruz, we're going to see a lot of him today, I think, against Ike Taylor. Could they be matching up? That Ike Taylor, they like to match him up against what they perceive the #1 receiver for the other team. Victor Cruz, good timing. That's usually a back shoulder throw. They like to throw to Hakeem Nicks.
Goes for 17, and now from the 47. They run it with Bradshaw, who takes it a yard across midfield. Let's meet the Steelers defense. It's 2nd overall total defense in the league, behind the 49ers. Hood, Hampton, and Kiesel up front. It's all about the linebackers when you talk about Pittsburgh's defense. Bill will talk about that. Harrison is getting back to healthy now, near normal. And in that secondary, Will Allen starts again, 4th straight game with Polamalu out with that calf injury, inactive. 2nd and 6. And Bradshaw bounces off a couple of hits. He's a yard away from a first. 3rd down coming up.
You know, Jim, you talk about this Steeler defense. They got a lot of pressure, I think, on them today. One, they're not a great pass rushing defense. They don't have that guy that can line up like the Giants do in Jason Pierre-Paul to just threaten the quarterback. So can they pressure Eli Manning? Can they get off the field no matter how long the 3rd and down distances are? This one, 3rd and short.
Not just a yard to go. Throwing for it. And that was Ruben Randall, who would come in for Cruz on third down, and the little mix-up there with the rookie from LSU, and the fourth down's on the way.
Well, it's a back shoulder throw as far as Eli Manning sees it. Ruben Randall not looking for it. We talked about this a lot, Jim, you and I. Eli Manning, Victor Cruz, all the receivers read the defense the same as the quarterback. He makes the throw. You were right. Mix up that time.
They do not elect to go for it from the 44 on 4th and 1. They bring out Weatherford. He had that record season a couple of years ago, down and punts inside the 20, and that's exactly his specialty. Well done by the Giants. Justin Tryon down there to down at 42-yard punt. The Steelers' first possession will start at the 2. Looking right down on Pouncey and Roethlisberger, and a hole on their first snap from the 2. Isaac Redmond, the starting running back. And Redmond squeezes through a hole and picks up a first down as Redmond gets the call today. Both Jonathan Dwyer and Richard Mendenhall inactive today, out with injury.
Willie Colon, 74, Marquise Pouncey. Why not run behind those two? They are both playing outstanding football. Look at his cut. Nice job. That'll give Isaac Redmond, Jim, you said it, top 2 running backs out. Redmond getting a chance to start, get his confidence going, and also keep the confidence going in this offensive line.
Picks up 11. He's not 100% either. He's got a tender ankle out the last 2 weeks, but has to go today. That ball deflected at the line by Justin Tuck, intended for Will Johnson.
Well, you're going to throw the football quick. Really important for offensive linemen to make contact. That time Mike Adams sails out too fast, allows Justin Tuck the chance to gather himself, jump up and knock it down. Big job for Mike Adams, 76, right tackle. Going to face some of the best pass rushers in the NFL here today.
Yeah, the rookie getting his 3rd straight start for an injured Marcus Gilbert. And on 2nd and 10, a flag is down as they dump it off to Redmond. Ball comes out at the end of it after picking up 3. The Giants are the best in the league right now at takeaways.
The ruling on the field is down by contact.
All right, Bill Levy tells us he was down anyway. Now what about the flag?
Offside. Number 90 defense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Bill Levy and his fine crew working this one today at MetLife Stadium. Here comes the lineups for Roethlisberger and the Steelers, and Ben having a big season. 14 touchdowns, only 3 picks. It's just the 3rd time he's ever gone against the Giants. He's thrown 6 interceptions in those 2 previous encounters. 2nd and 5 off the penalty. And open is Brown. Antonio Brown has a first down out to the 30. So they get out of the jam back at the 2 to start the drive, and they're already out to the 30. That picked up 12.
Yeah, he sure did. They're expecting runs, so they crowd the line of scrimmage. And when you crowd the line of scrimmage, you see Prince Amukamara on the outside. You give him some room. These wide receivers can run. So the Giants know that and respect it. Don't give up the big play.
A rookie has come into the backfield. Rookie Chris Rainey. We may see a lot of him today. Drafted in the 5th round out of Florida. Now they send him wide to the left. And clear it out for Ben from the 30. Pressure, and he goes down. It's Justin Tuck. And a loss of 9.
Ben Roethlisberger doesn't get hit too often. Here comes the move. Goes inside. That was a nice job by Justin Tuck. Widen the rookie offensive lineman. He's worried about speed. Then you beat him inside.
Tuck caused a little controversy this week when he said that offensive line for the Steelers gets away with murder.
Well, they're pretty good at holding. And I'd say if you're not good at holding, then you can't start as offensive lineman in the NFL. That's a compliment.
2nd down, 19. Over to Rainey. Shifts back middle. Lost the ball. And the ball goes out of bounds. So a shaky moment there for the rookie.
Goes back to where he fumbled it. It does not go forward since he had possession of the football. Try and find quick ways. Get rid of the football. Get it to the speed guys outside. The wide receivers and Chris Rainey. That big package of plays that they like to give him. You fumble the football, it'll shrink dramatically, that's for sure.
It was J-Ron Hosley, the rookie from Virginia Tech, the corner who stripped it. Loss of 5, 3rd and 24. To Brown. Past the first tackler and then pushed out by Stevie Brown. So Pittsburgh had scored last week on its first 4 possessions, and it scored the last 3 games on its opening possession. But today, at least for a field position story, they're able to get something done, moving it out from the 2-yard line across the 20 in the end.
You said it, they moved it out, and the Giants, their defensive line, off to a good start.
That's Butler sending it down to Randall, who was bumped after making the catch. No flag. Curtis Brown was down there to make the contact. Eli and the Giants coming out again.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. 1&1 My Website, where creating a business website is easy. And by National Car Rental. Go national. Go like a pro.
You look around, you can't find an open seat here at MetLife Stadium. 82,000. A lot of people wondering, would it be filled? It is. Andre Brown is in the backfield on first down. Manning's throw was intended for Nix. Lewis had his hands on it for a moment.
Good job by Keenan Lewis. But you know, the other thing, Jim, where we do a lot of games on the road with the Steelers, being the visiting team, and you look at this Giant crowd, you don't see much yellow. Usually we see quite a big pocket of Steeler fans. Giant fans kept their tickets, and they showed up today.
A lot of people were wondering, would people be able to make it, because obviously there's a refueling issue around here, big time. That's Brown taking it across the 40, picks up 5, 3rd and 5 coming up into the arms of Lawrence Timmons.
Yeah, you look at this Giant offense, you talk about it, they can have injuries on the offensive line, they get it done. Injury at the receiver position, whoever steps in, they get it done. And how about Andre Brown? You were talking to me about him before the game. He got a chance to start this year and tore it up.
He did, filling in for an injured Ahmad Bradshaw. Bounced around after being drafted by the Giants back in 2010. Denver, Washington, Carolina, and now a contributor here for New York as Bradshaw's back in. Hickson's in at receiver. 3rd and 5, and that ball is tipped. That was Keenan Lewis who came up to get his hands on it. He's been making some plays here the last month, and that's been noticed by the Steelers staff.
Yeah, you know, Jim, great job. Here he comes. Eli Manning calls lucky. So they're going to slide the line. Here comes the blocker. There's Keenan Lewis. He goes, oh, I can't get there. But he jumps up, knocks the football down just like you would, trained as a defensive lineman. If you can't get there, watch the quarterback try to tip the football.
Weatherford back out, a beauty on his first punt, 42 yards. It was down to 2.
And lucky means everybody go left. Here comes the blitz.
This one a driving punt that goes out of bounds. Just outside the 20, 38-yard punt. Lewis makes the play, forcing the 3 and out. You can help the victims. Superstorm Sandy. Text Red Cross to 90999. Make a $10 donation to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. CBS Cares. CBS Cares in a big way, too. And our chairman, Leslie Moonves, is here at the game today. And he said it so well, and he reached out to so many of the employees across the many forums from CBS Radio and TV to CBS Outdoor about this is something that we're all going to reach out in our communities and make our own special contributions financially and volunteering. 1st and 10, and Redmond's backing in for about 4. Let's set that lineup now for the Giants. defense and take a look at some of the things they've done already in this game.
Well, the Giants, to me, have so many guys on their side, on the defensive side and offense, that can just make plays to change games. And I think the Steelers are already finding out, hey, well, no matter what you think, it's going to be harder to block them in passing situations than we probably even talked about. So they need to be patient, run the football straight at this Giant defense, and hope they keep in good situations.
Back to Redmond on 2nd and 6. And they pounded ahead for 5 more. 3rd and short coming up. I mean, Jonathan Dwyer had come on so strong for the Steelers the last 2 weeks, over 100 yards, but he got injured in the game last week against Washington, a quad injury. Unable to go today, and Mendenhall, of course, has not been 100% since the injury last year in the playoffs at the end of the season.
There's Rashard Mendenhall, you're right. And you look at Isaac Redmond, he's a good, solid NFL running back. He's created a role for himself on this team. That was short yardage and goal line, but it's a little different today. They need more from him.
3rd and 1. Going to go up top for it. Going to try to. And there he is, Redmond. As again, Roethlisberger buys time. He's wearing gloves today, Phil.
Well, you said it right. One, he bought time. Harder to buy time against this defense in front of the Giants because you can fool them. And these linemen, even the defensive tackles, they can recover, they can run, and they are big enough and fast enough to bring the hardest quarterback in the NFL to bring down. Yes, Roethlisberger with the gloves, cool, crisp day. He was ready for it, and he put them on when he came out for warm-ups.
He was practicing on and off all week back in Pittsburgh with the gloves, anticipating he'd go with them today. In 1st and 10, they go to the fullback, Will Johnson. And why is that an issue when you talk about a quarterback wearing gloves?
Well, he has told us many times he likes them. A couple things, like he needs help. He's got a strong arm, as we all know. He says, I can throw it harder, I can throw it farther. He makes it spin more, the rotation, so if it's windy, whatever the conditions are, he can get it done. The one problem, when you throw short passes, and I had gloves, not as good as the ones he's using, it can stick to your hand, and the football can go offline. But that's just a little bit of a problem. He likes all the other good things it does for him.
2nd and 8, Rainey back in. Fake to him, and now Roethlisberger takes off, and he is down 2 yards shy of a first.
Giants were hoping they could just crush the pocket. In other words, just push them back and get penetration. It was a screen that time. How about JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul? He saw the screen was going to happen. He reads it. It's the Paulson 81. Doesn't recover that time, but does he make a lot of plays in the game that go unnoticed? The Steelers, they want to make sure Jason Pierre-Paul doesn't ruin the game today.
We'll call it 3rd and 3 as they bring Sanders into a slot on the right side. And what a fine play coming up to end it. Antrell Roll jumped up and knocked it down.
Well, if you get a job you want done on defense, just give it to 26. Antrell Roll, he has got the personality, the edge, and he does everything for this defense. Covers, blitzes, can tackle. He is a terrific safety, and that it didn't matter. That they were not going to get a first down even with a completed pass.
Drew Butler sends it to Reuben Randall, who makes the catch. The fair catch after a 43-yard punt. Steelers have changed field position. No score here, first quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Windows 8. And by T. Rowe Price. Understanding the connections of a complex global economy. Invest with confidence.
Steelers and Giants, between these two, they've won 4 of the last 7 Super Bowls. First down for New York, its 3rd drive of the game, and Bradshaw's backed up a yard. To get the latest news, analysis, and predictions from Pat Kerwin, Pete Crisco, and other CBS Sports experts, watch Pro Football 360 live weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern or on demand at cbssports.com/ProFootball360.
Pat Kerwin, Know him well, knows everything about the game. I'll tell you, he can follow all the teams, so I'll listen to him too.
Second and 11. Down the middle, open man. It's Cruz to the 41. And a gain of 26.
Oh, the Giants are happy to see this. He makes this offense go. Watch him make a move inside. Little go across. Oh my gosh, Woodley just completely misses Victor Cruz. The Giants want to get him going. You heard the crowd, they yell for him. Plays inside, gets lots of opportunities. Has not struggled, but had a tough time getting open the last couple weeks.
Lamar Woodley fell down in coverage. First down, protected, and now Wobbler's intercepted. That ball did not come out of the hand cleanly.
You said it right. It came out nose down, no power. Easy interception.
Ike Taylor has the interception, his first of the season. Ike Taylor.
Yeah, I'd smile too if I picked the pass off. Eli Manning, that time Ike Taylor was full, but recovered. Even if Eli threw it perfectly, I think Ike Taylor was going to be there. What a great job of recovery.
Just the fourth interception of the year for the Steelers, and they take off up the middle with Redmond. Now that interception, there was pressure on Eli. No wonder the pass wasn't crisp.
Yeah, that was something. McGlindan, number 90's coming late, but look at that pocket. Plenty of time. He feels the pressure, but look to the outside. Watch Ike Taylor, 24. Stumbles, turns, and is right there. That's pretty dang special, I'll tell you that. Eli Manning, quarterback, always knows when it comes out of your hand, you know if it's a little short, and he could feel it.
First time he's thrown a pick in the first half since week 2. And off a season-long 17-yard run, Redmond earns another carry. This time he's got 4. Tonight on 60 Minutes, he's an MVP quarterback who still keeps his scholarship rejection letters. What makes Aaron Rodgers tick? Find out only on 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS. And Scott Pelley did the interview. You'll see also Aaron talking a little bit about players in this league, quarterbacks, and just realizing other players on the other side are out to get the quarterbacks. Bounty style.
Bounty style. Oh, okay.
He'll talk about that tonight on 60 Minutes. Fresh off a 4-touchdown day today for Aaron. 2nd and 6. Down the field in the double coverage. Heading toward Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown got his feet tangled up. I think he could have twisted his ankle. But good coverage down the field. Prince Amukamara. Nice turn. See when their feet get tangled up? Oh, a shoe came off. It looks like maybe that was the only problem.
And brings Jericho Cotchery into the lineup.
Good time for the Steelers. Well, he's grabbing that left ankle and foot, Jim. Steelers, like a lot of offenses in the NFL, they get to the 30, like where they are now, the 37, 38-yard line. You like to take a shot and try to score quickly instead of marching down in there.
Timeout called by Pittsburgh. Minute 35 to go in a scoreless first quarter. Antonio Brown is being examined on the sideline. And as many of you know, we talked about it on the NFL today. It's been a travel day. They left Pittsburgh this morning, arrived in New Jersey, went to a hotel out by the airport, went through some final meetings and a light lunch, and then bust over to the stadium, doing it all round trip in one day. The hotel that they were scheduled to stay at was out of power, but once they did get power back, they did not want to take hotel rooms away from anyone who might need it in these desperate times. 3rd and 6. And that's Cotchery coming in for Brown, and the former Jet has the first down.
You and I were talking about him before the game. You talk about these receivers for the Steelers, and in what a great backup they have. A guy, Jericho Cotchery, that can play any position. Came right in learned their offense, and they love what he can do. Not called upon very often. How about that? Right off the bench, big first down.
Just his 5th catch of the year. Goes for 8 yards and a first. From the Giants' 29. Delay, Redmond. Wrapped up. That's Stevie Brown coming up to make the stick. Well, he's been making all kinds of takeaway plays. And now he's in the backfield for a tackle and a loss of 1.
Oh, is he quick coming off here, right through, reads it. How about that? Tom Coughlin, just couldn't say enough about Stevie Brown. Can find the football, can read the quarterback, and he knows how to play sports. So that means he right in, diagnosed the play, made a decision, made it happen.
2nd and 11. Across the middle. Paulson. And that will run out the first quarter after a 7-yard gain. Scoreless after 1. We'll return after these messages. And you're watching the NFL on CBS. Staten Island, stay strong. Just so tragic to see the devastation there. There's Commissioner Roger Goodell before the game came and greeted dozens of first responders. The league donating $1 million as well to the relief efforts. 3rd and 4, Jim Nance, Phil Simms here at MetLife Stadium. And the Steelers have their first with Will Johnson catching it, taking on a couple of tacklers, pushing it across for 5 and a first.
How about big Will Johnson, 46, coming out of the backfield, little what they call an F angle, but he has had some big blocks and runs and catches a good first down for him. Double team JPP. You got to do it. Well, let's get a triple team in there. When in doubt, look for 90. That's what you got to do. That's how good he is. The Giants put him everywhere to give him a chance to make plays. The Steelers got to be alert and find out where he is.
Continue the drive after the interception of Eli Manning. And that is Redmond. Boy, somehow through all those bodies, he takes it down to about the 11, picks up 7.
Jim, you heard Mike Tomczak. He's a little excited about this football team. Redmond, tough inside runner. But again, watch 46 come across here. And then it's just plowed up in there. It's Michael Boley, Foster, Willie Colon, and they were adamant. Hey, we're getting our power back. You know, kind of hate to say it, they're getting their mojo on the offensive side. I don't know what mojo is. I know I've never had it, but the Steelers seem to think they got it.
2nd down and 3, and they got a first down at the 5. As Redmond has been impressive here, stepping up after missing a couple of games.
Simplify the running game. That's what the Steelers have done. Look at that again. Oh, there's Foster one more time. And the Giants said it. You got to make this offensive line be athletic. In other words, get them in space. Right there is what they can do. They are big. Even by NFL standards, this offensive line is really big.
1st and goal to go. Redmond spins, fights, takes a negative play, picks up 2. Word comes up now, Antonio Brown turned an ankle and questionable to return.
Well, they got a good guy in reserve. We talked about it. Jericho Cotchery can fill that void. It's tough. Giants not going to just sit back there and let this offensive line just pound them. So that time they put some run pressure on Herzlich. Little linebacker starting for Chase Blackburn. Good job of stopping it for a 2-yard gain.
11th play of the drive coming up. 2nd and goal from the 4. Roethlisberger. Got time. Got his man back in the end zone. Touchdown, Emmanuel Sanders.
Well, you're bracing for the run. The Steelers get rid of the football quick. This time the coverage is good. But You're not ready to put the pass pressure up the field and get to Ben Roethlisberger. He moves, stays with the pattern. 1 foot, 2 foot, 2 feet. My sister will call me about that, but nice job by Sanders, kept working.
That's his first touchdown for Sanders since October a year ago. Extra point by Sweezum, 7-0. Takeaway points. McClendon with the pressure on Manning. Helps force the interception by Taylor. And then it's Roethlisberger to Sanders for the game's first score. We were talking to Ben Roethlisberger yesterday. He said Emmanuel Sanders could be a #1 on a lot of teams around this league.
How about that? I mean, that's really, you know, Ben doesn't throw those compliments around either very easily. So that tells you what he thinks about his receiving core. And you know what? Pretty good, I agree.
Wilson had a good run back the first time. And he races out to the 29. Brandon Johnson on the tackle, 33-yard run back. Military Appreciation Day here, and Commissioner Goodell taking a stroll before the game with General Raymond Odierno, 38th Chief of Staff of the United States Army, who's from Rockaway, New Jersey, 36 years of service, as well as Jonathan Greenert, Admiral and Chief of Naval Operations, 37 years.
Well, we saw the general at practice on Friday. I'm going to tell you what, he's a big man.
And Bradshaw has it for 5. The general spoke up at West Point yesterday before the game.
Helped them beat, they beat Air Force, right?
They did.
Yeah, so that was an upset. What else he said? He goes, hey, he can't wait for the Army-Navy game. It's going to be exciting, he said. Well, it always is. Last year's was a terrific game.
We'll have that in early December here on CBS. 2nd down and 5. Diving catch by Bennett. Martellus Bennett picks up 7. And they move the chains.
Yeah, good play by Martellus Bennett. And he has sure filled the void here for the Giants, hadn't he?
He has. What a find. Former Cowboy, 2nd-round pick out of Texas A&M. Has spent all those years backing up Jason Witten.
Now he's got a chance to be the starter, and he's taking advantage of it. The Giants happy with his production, blocking for the run game pretty well. And what a target. I mean, he's so big. You can just throw it to him even when he's covered.
That was his 30th catch of the year. Play action, a long ball, and it's down the field, and a flag's coming out. Nix had a defender on his back with contact. Lewis and Ryan Clark.
Pretty tough call. Good job by Eli Manning. Play action fake. They want to go deep in this game.
Pass interference from the 23 defense. Hopefully are. First down, spot of the top.
Called on Keenan Lewis.
What's it look like from the front? He does touch him on the back. Good leverage on the outside. Now the football's in the air. Now you're going to outrun it. But you know, when you show him on TV, that looks really, really good coverage, but just a tough call. You got to live with it and go on.
41 yards on the penalty. Bradshaw barrels down to the 16, picks up 4.
You and I talk about it all the time. I'm not saying it's a bad call. I don't even want to get into that because it's a judgment call. But pass interference, Jim, it's such a big deal in the NFL. It's such a penalizing play. You don't know if it's going to get, and it's because it's such a judgment. I love the college rule. I wish that was a 15-yard penalty instead of 40-some yards.
You just think it's too severe.
It is too severe when too many plays like that one are so close.
In the red zone, where the Giants have not had a huge touchdown conversion percentage. 2nd and 6. Down to the 13. In fact, they've had 36 previous trips inside the 20. 16 of the 36 for touchdowns. That was their bugaboo last week. They won the game at Dallas, but their offense produced only 1 touchdown. 5 field goals by Lawrence Steins in that game, in that win at Dallas.
Yeah, you know what's really, when you talk about a Kevin Gilbride, loves to throw the football down the field. When you want to be a good red zone offensive team, you need a lot of deception. That's not the Giants' way on offense. And you need a really good power running game, and they don't quite have that either right now.
Second down. Third down. Don't be deceived there. 3rd and 2. And they pick up the first with Bradshaw. So they had that poor 14 of their last 16 failing to convert, but they get it here with Bradshaw running right.
Kevin Booth gets a good block, gets Lawrence Timmons, and what they did was a little counter. They switched Bradshaw across the formation to get to the side they wanted to run the football to. I'm not sure. It looked like Eli Manning looked, said let's run right, switched it back over, and they made it happen.
1st and goal, they go spread. And they still go Brown with Bradshaw. And Kiesel is there to meet him after 3.
Red Kiesel, the beard, along with Will Allen, taking the place of Troy Polamalu. Red Kiesel really, after that injury, which we did the game last year in the playoffs out in Denver, Jim, it looks like he's really back into football shape, making plays and doing his job so those linebackers get a chance to start.
And it is all about the linebackers, you say, at Pittsburgh. Bradshaw's run it 5 times on this drive. 2nd and goal. Make it 6. And he makes a nifty move to get by an early hit. And then Timmons is there to meet him after 3 yards down at the 2.
Oh, you said it right. What a move. Takes it off the right tackle, then goes out.
It's Ryan Clark. He sidestepped. Yep.
That's not easy to do. Ryan Clark is an excellent tackler from the safety position. That's what the Giants are, though, Jim. Block them, just give the running back a little chance. They got talented running backs who can make the extra yards.
Ruben Randall has come back in at receiver. 3rd and goal. Eli throws and almost intercepted again by Taylor, but a left flag comes in at the last moment. And Cruz is down.
After the play was over, personal foul, blow to the head, number 25 defense. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic 1st down.
Ryan Clark with that penalty. Oh.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go. And by the Samsung Galaxy S3. The next big thing is already here.
Personal foul call on Ryan Clark gives the Giants now 1st and goal to go. The personal foul, they say, after the play. Straight ahead, and Andre Brown is, well, from this side, they say touchdown.
Good job of staying with it with Andre Brown, lead blocker. Henry Hanoski doesn't get a chance to really get in and open up the hole. Pretty tight. It is a touchdown, Jim. That'll be reviewed. We'll see if he got in.
I think for just a second, this point right there, he broke the plane. Got pushed back a little bit by his own man, Beatty. How about the personal foul call, though, that gave the Giants a second chance on this drive?
Let's first off, see if he scores here. Still up.
This is the point right here.
That's good. I think you're right. It might have just broken the plane. The personal foul, what I think of it, I thought it was a bad call. I mean, I'm not even going to, I don't like to sit here and second guess officials all the time. I thought it was a bad call. It was a bang, bang play. Didn't hit him in the head. Hit Victor Cruz in the side. Tough call against Ryan Clark.
See enough there to say touchdown?
I was too busy talking. Don't say anything. So what's
that was
new?
too easy.
Yeah, it was too easy. I stopped it. Here it comes again. Doesn't look like his body hits the ground yet.
That's the point right there. Did
There
it?
is. Woo, boy.
Did it touch the line?
Well, they called it a touchdown. Can you say it didn't? That's what it comes down to.
Is there enough to overturn?
Saw some really close calls by some college football games yesterday. You know, you talk about that personal foul. They called it a blow to the head, and it was not even close to that.
Hit him in the shoulder.
I thought he hit him in the ribs. I don't even think he hit the shoulder. It was Ryan Clark went in there shoulder first, down low against Victor Cruz.
But one thing, Cruz looked like he might have been really hurt on the play, and during that timeout, he did get up and walk off as if he was fine.
Let's watch it real quick. It happened so fast. Almost intercepted. Here it comes, the hit. There it is, underneath the shoulder. Ryan Clark did it proper, just like they teach, and we're showing it in slow motion. So that happened. You put that in full speed. That's, like I said, tough call, but you got to live with it. Steelers got to go over there. It'll make you angry. So, well, now you got a chance to do something about it for the next 2.5 quarters.
Here it is, full speed.
Here we go.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands.
All right, the touchdown is confirmed.
Tough on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Giants took advantage of it, of the calls, and got the touchdown.
Got the 41-yard pass interference call. And then the drive-sustaining personal foul penalty that was on 3rd and goal. All tied now at 7. 8-play drive, 72 yards. Brown taking at the final yard. Ryan Clark came into this league as a New York Giant, here for some 20 games, where he went on to Washington and later Pittsburgh. Still can't believe over there that they called that on him. He's been the recipient many times of flags.
He plays rough, there's no doubt about it.
Nice piece of running here on the return. Rainey all the way to the Giants' 46.
Now, that kind of shows you why they want to get Chris Rainey the football more. This guy, how about these feet? He makes it look easy. It's just bing, bomb, just slide out. Quick, change direction. Looks like a video game. But that's what you do. That's what this league has turned into. We see the rules. We've already talked about them. Get the football in the hands of the guys that can make big plays, and Chris Rainey is one of those type of players.
His longest kick return of his rookie season, 50 yards. Trying to shift the momentum back to Pittsburgh. And a rare drop by Heath Miller.
Well, not making excuses for Heath Miller, but he's trying to catch it, protect himself, and get down, and kind of gets his hands on top of the football. Michael Boley, is that Michael Boley, I think? Can't see the number. Coming in there fast to make the hit.
Mosley as well. Mosley made a couple of plays. No catches so far from Miller. Ben has hit 7 receivers in all, but not his tight end, who's having a big season. 2nd and 10 with Redmond, and ripping up another long run until Roll ends it after 11 yards. Kotchery came in there actually and helped open up the middle.
Maybe they got this play from the Redskins last week. They call this the pistol. When the running back is behind the quarterback, again the center, Pouncey, Cologne, Ramon Foster, the right guard, just ripping it inside.
Also saw Emmanuel Sanders in there, the 2 wide receivers contributing to the cause.
Little guys trying to be big.
First down from the New York 37. Talking about Miller, no catches. Mike Wallace without a grab so far. Now Miller has one. With Herzlich bringing him down after 5. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Power. For all the latest scores and highlights, full recaps of the 1 o'clock games. It's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
Quick passing game by the Steelers, trying to make sure this defensive line of the Giants is not a factor. And long snap counts, how about that?
Roethlisberger felt the pressure from behind. The ball is out. It's Michael Boley taken off. He's got Miller trying to get there. Was that a clip? He takes it all the way. The look at that was, in fact, the arm moving forward. Umenyiora was in his face.
There is no doubt his arm is going forward, but does he lose control of the football?
On the field's touchdown.
And that is going to be brought back.
Going to be an incompletion.
And it was a clip.
I thought so.
I'll just call them all as I'm sitting here today.
Yeah.
It's clear that Ben
Previous play
Roethlisberger
is under review.
had control of this football when it's going forward. I did not see it move.
Of course, no coach's challenge needed. All turnovers are reviewed.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Get to a better state with a discount double check. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
Referee Bill Levy.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands.
You didn't see it that way, did you?
No, I didn't. But it's not my decision. The gloves. Does the football come loose as he's going forward? Looks like a throwing motion. How about this? JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, hits Heath Miller from behind. He threw the arms up. That tells you it's a clip. Ooh, boy.
Umenyiora forces the turnover, and the Giants defense comes up with the score. 14 points in a minute and 50 seconds. Boy, Roethlisberger was convinced that was coming back.
Yeah, you know, the arm is going forward in a throwing motion. And I do not see the football coming out of his hand at all as he's going forward. Now, he didn't mean to let it go, but that does not matter. That is the classic tuck rule when your arm is going forward and it comes out the end of the motion. And Ben Roethlisberger was so sure that it was not a fumble. And you can almost tell by his body language how he really believed in what happened on the field. So, again, judgment call. Didn't go the Steelers' way, but you got to recover from it.
There's the two that teamed up. Umenyiora forced it. Boley picked it up and ran it back. Boley's sixth takeaway on the year.
Does that ball come loose at all? Well, maybe there was a slight movement at the tip as I watch it again. I guess it comes to this, Jim. It was called a fumble on the field. That's what they're taught to do. Bill Levy did the right thing. Let the play go because you can always correct it. Wasn't enough there to see it.
Chris Rainey, a 50-yard return just a few minutes ago, and now he'll get another chance. There he is again, bursting out across the 30. 31-yard run back. Nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Don't miss Phil. Joining Steve Berline, Rich Gannon, and special guest Boomer Esiason on NFL Monday QB. Monday, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network. 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
Well, you know, Jim, last week, you and I laughed in London when we were going to get home in time for this game. Well, we barely made it. And you know what they did with the Monday morning QB since I wasn't here? You know, they just canceled. Yeah.
Well, we'll make up for it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure.
1st and 10. As Redmond with another nifty step after contact picks up 13 yards.
Good job of staying on the blocks for this Pittsburgh offensive line. Run blocking, they are having a good first half. How about Willie Colon? And how about Heath Miller, that block? Willie Colon pulls around there and seals it off. Heath Miller gets it down inside. And Redmond just bounces it out there for a first down.
Pushed back by Michael Boley. From the Giants sideline, we hear Victor Cruz. We were talking, was it a shoulder? Was he hit in the ribs on that personal foul call against Ryan Clark? Bruised ribs, the Giants report now. Cruz, but he will return to the game today.
Good news for the Giants. I know they were excited about giving him more opportunities to catch the football today. Haven't had a chance to see some of maybe some new stuff, but did have a nice catch down the middle.
2nd and 7. Timeout. Roethlisberger. 3:41 to go in the half. And the Giants lead it at 14-7. Back here in this one, 2 touchdowns came off turnovers. The other set up by penalties. Mike Taylor, that interception set up the Roethlisberger touchdown throw to Sanders. And then the 41-yard interference call. Personal foul penalty gave the Giants a new set of downs at the 1. Brown took it across, and then the ball squirted out of the hands of Roethlisberger as Umenyiora made contact. 2nd and 7 as Chris Rainey takes it for 4 yards.
What did Mike Tomlin say to us about Chris Rainey? He's graduating. He's not just a package guy where we give him a screen, let him run in reverse. They're letting him be a running back. That time, running inside tells you they're gaining faith in Chris Rainey.
Yeah, they called him like a gadget guy earlier in the year. Now try to see him and expose him here as a complete running back. 3rd and 3.
And look out for the run. Running backs looks pretty deep.
To Rainey. Oh, and he is pushed back by Boley. Roll got to him first. And they stopped him short of the first.
You said it right. Michael Boley, good speed. Nobody open down the field. Good job by Roethlisberger finding Chris Rainey, and what a hit. Antrell Roll goes underneath, slows it down, and Michael Boley stops him.
And they ask for a measurement.
If it's 4th down here in a couple inches, I go for it. I go for it. I think that was. I'm a conservative guy in these decisions. I think I would go for it.
Foot to go. And they keep the offense on the field.
Just so many things you can do. You're running with power, just make sure you run to the right spot. If the Giants load up on the inside, you got to run off tackle. You got a big, strong quarterback. You can throw it quick. If you want to do that, a lot of options for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin says he makes all these decisions strictly on field. If it feels right, he makes the call. He didn't hesitate to make this 4th down call either.
Umenyiora and Tuck both on the sideline. 4th and a foot to go. And Redmond keeps his balance and picks up 4 and the first.
Really good run. They crowded the middle. Look at all the defensive linemen. They take it outside. Oh my gosh, this is Will Johnson, 46. He is just a wrecking ball. What a block. That's probably one of the big reasons why they went for it.
Tell you see in that pile right there, Pierre Paul, he hobbled to the sideline. 2-minute warning here at MetLife. Pierre Paul on the Giants bench. Again, he hobbled to the sideline. They've been examining his knee. 1st and 10. The Steelers have scored in the last 2 minutes of the first half and 6 of the first 7 games of the season. That picks up 3. Keep wondering when Mike Wallace might become a part of the game plan. He's at the near side. He has not been targeted to this point. 2nd down and 7. Now they go his way. There he is. Wallace, the ball comes out incomplete. It was Webster who jarred it out.
Well, that was Mike Wallace's fault. Didn't come back to the football. But Jim, let's real quick go back to the Roethlisberger fumble. Let's watch it one more time. Watch the football in slow motion. Look where it comes out of his hand. He loses the grip. That is considered losing control. That's why Bill Levy, you were right. I was wrong. I guess it's the old, my cousin Vinny, I need thicker glasses. Because I didn't see that as I was watching. I don't know why, but I didn't. So it was a good call on the field. And easy for him in the review.
3rd down and 7. And they got a sack. The ball is out. Pierre Paul. He only set out one play.
Situations the Steelers don't want to get in. The blitz. Single blocking up front. Jason Pierre-Paul, almost impossible. Watch 90. Oh my gosh. Just knocks Mike Adams back. And Ben Roethlisberger lost control. Did he lose control of the football before he hit the ground?
Well, that's timeout called by the Giants.
Here he
Was
goes.
he down before the ball came out?
Oh, side of his arm, he's going to be down. I mean, not his arm. His right shin is down, so it's going to be 4th down for the Steelers. I feel pretty sure I'm going to be right once today.
4th down.
Well, you couldn't keep Pierre Paul on the bench for too long, could you?
How about that? Well, we said what?
Don't ruin the game if you're the Steelers. Don't let him ruin it.
Easy to say, hard to do.
Butler, nice soaring punt. Randall lets it go smartly into the end zone. One hopper and out to the 20. 73 yards net.
Smartly.
Verizon halftime report again coming up. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher. All the scores and highlights. What's going on with Minnesota, Seattle, Tampa, Oakland, and all the early games. Chicago put up 51 today, by the way, down in Tennessee. And the surprising Colts are now 5-3.
Giants very aggressive in their decision making. In these type of situation, they don't even hesitate. They want points. 2 timeouts. Minute 10.
There's Victor Cruz shifting to the right side. And Eli throws it away.
I think right after the first series, we went to commercial. You and I were talking like we always do during commercials. And I said, boy, these defensive backs for the Steelers, they are going to have to be great today. Because it's going to be tough for them to find a way to pressure Eli Manning. And they really haven't gotten pressure on him. The one time, yeah, when he threw the interception, but it took about 5 seconds. And that time, Eli Manning threw it away because nobody was open.
He's only been sacked 6 times on the season. With a minute and 2 to go. 2nd and 10. Launches a long one. And a flag comes out on Keenan Lewis for the 2nd time. Hickson was the intended receiver.
That was a good call. No doubt about that one.
Pass interference. Number 23 defense. 1st down, spot on the foul.
We had one that went for 41 yards, a penalty. I'm talking about Keenan Lewis right here. This one will be a 46-yard penalty.
Look at the extra time. Nice job of stepping up in the pocket, and he lets it go. He gets every bit of it. Good fighting for the football by Hickson, but Lewis never turns around. That's an easy call for the officials. Makes contact before the football gets there. That's why you throw it down the field. Not much bad can happen. Penalty, catch it, or incomplete's about all that can go in this league now.
Flag out. Play stopped.
False start. Number 85, offense. 5-yard penalty. Second.
And
Still
again,
first down.
this is a Pittsburgh defense that's had to go the majority of the season without Polamalu, who's out again today with a calf injury.
Well, it's always you miss a great player. He's a great player. But I've said it, Will Allen and Ryan Clark have definitely picked it up from the safety position. They're playing together. They're learning how to deal with each other back there. And I think they've been playing really, really well.
88 penalty yards on the Steelers defense in this quarter alone. And here's another 5 yards against the Giants.
False start. Number 66, offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
What Mike Tomlin say about the Giants? He goes, I stood up in front of the team on Wednesday and said, defending Super Bowl champions. Then he threw a few stats out there and he caught their attention, didn't he, Jim?
Well, he's got all the numbers.
The numbers all favor the Giants.
But more importantly, he said to them, remember, you're representing your area at a time of crisis. Be an inspiration on Sunday. First and 20. They got a little crowded in the middle of the field.
Good coverage that time by Cortez Allen. He's stepped in, plays the slot receiver, which is so tough to do. Let's just watch down the field. Steelers trying to two safeties deep. Look at Cortez Allen. Oh my gosh, that's tough. You got to chase a guy across the whole field, just you and him, and he's in good position to knock it down. Good coverage by all the defensive backs that time.
Second down and 20. Gets them in field goal range at the 33, right between Taylor and Clark. Picks up 11.
What Justin Tuck say about Victor Cruz yesterday? We were talking to him. He goes, it's all going for Victor Cruz.
Timeout called by the Giants.
He's got the catches. The crowd goes crazy when he catches it. He's got they're naming a dance after him. And Justin Tuck, what do he say? It's been around for hundreds of years. But now,
yeah, that was. It's like the teammates are always saying, wait, it's like you invented the salsa.
The salsa, yeah. And, you know, of course, there are reports today that the Giants getting close to signing are getting the structure for a new contract for Victor Cruz. Listen, he is such a big part of this offense. In the NFL now, you want to throw the ball, you need a really good inside receiver.
41 seconds. 3rd and 9. With pressure, that was Woodley who got to Eli right on the release. And this will mean about 51 yards coming up for Tynes.
It's really the first quick pressure they've had today. Coming from the outside, they get confused. The running back, Bradshaw and Deal, who's got who? Eli gets hit before he can get it off.
Of course, if he misses here, the Steelers would have time to do something in good field position from about the 41. Tynes has not missed at home this year. He's 9 of 9. He's made an amazing 24 field goals already. From 51. And the kick is short.
Boy, it looked like he hit it good. It wasn't spinning too hard. Well, it does have quite a bit of spin. When you see a football do that, you've heard me say it many times, probably takes just a couple yards off the distance, right down the middle, and it is a cool, crisp day today.
So Pittsburgh takes over at the 41 with 1 timeout and 31 seconds.
Yep, time to do something. I haven't seen the outside screens by the Steelers today. We see them so much in all their other games, and they're very effective. The Giants staying close to these wide receivers to stop those screens.
And still without Antonio Brown. Look in the middle, and that's Cotchery.
That is unbelievable. What an adjustment by Cotchery. And that took some courage by Roethlisberger to throw that down in the middle of that group.
Timeout called by the Steelers. That was a 24-yard hookup.
That pocket was closing fast, wasn't it, Jim? That time, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is back, waiting for Kotchery to go right down the middle. Tell you what I've noticed here, and just watching it so far, you notice the outside rushers of the Giants. You know, they got tall, lean, long-armed pass rushers. They're getting those arms out there. That's a shot. That's what I'm talking about. You got to worry about as a quarterback, not about getting hit. You worry about them hitting your arm.
Yeah, that was a split second away from influencing that one.
Well, that's why Perry Fuel, defensive coordinator, one of his jobs and responsibility is just to find ways to get number 90, giving more opportunities to make plays.
The play to Kotchery, longest of the day for the Steelers. And another big one here with Miller down to the 12. Then racing up to spike it. And he does with 5 seconds.
Got to kick it. Beautiful throw, good protection. Nice move by Heath Miller. Gets Michael Boley. That's why he was wide open. And Heath Miller's really become a good part and a big part of their passing game. That's because Todd Haley knows how to get a tight end open down the field.
Sweesum, a 30-yard field goal attempt. Chance to put points on the board again in the last 2 minutes of the first half. Oh, careful now. The kick is good. Just inside the left upright. And that'll close out the first half. The Steelers will be receiving the second half kickoff. Sweesum only one miss on the year. That one was close. 17 out of 18 now on the season. 14-10 Giants at the intermission. Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. Jim Nantz and Phil Simms back here in New Jersey. The Steelers had almost a 2-1 advantage time of possession, but the Giants lead it at 14-10. Nice run backs. And he's got another one here. Rainey taken off across the 40. Tynes is there. And finally thrown down. Brown on the tackle there. That first half, partner, what did you think?
Well, I thought a couple things. Turnovers, the big turnover the Giants created. But Chris Rainey, special teams, keeping them in the game, giving them a chance. That's one way to get it done. But the Giants protected Eli Manning. Their passing game was not crisp. On the other side, I'm not sure the Pittsburgh Steelers can give Ben Roethlisberger enough time to throw the football down the field with success. They're trying to keep the Giants' defensive line off balance, running the football, different formations. But those arms and hands, everything working against Ben Roethlisberger.
That was a 68-yard return. Sets him up at the 35. And Redmond has a couple.
Jimmy heard so much about Chris Rainey coming into this game. And again, this is how he sets it up. He weaves. He gets everybody thinking, well, we got a double weave there. This guy is quick, makes it look easy, and he fits in right with the receivers of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have two qualities. They're very quick and they're fast. So they're quick to get around you, hard to catch up to because of that speed.
Well, they're without Brown again, still out since being injured on a deep throw in the first quarter. Over to Wallace, who has his first catch with this one. And Webster shoves him out after just a short gain. Only a yard. Roethlisberger threw a touchdown, lost a fumble that got returned for a touchdown. He was sacked 3 times as the Giants defense forced a couple of fumbles.
Well, you and I talked quite a bit about that fumble during halftime. I see why they called it, but everybody else is still arguing against me that it wasn't a fumble, but it was ruled correctly in my eyes after I watched it and saw it and learned the rule a little better. Bill Levy made the right call.
3rd and 7. Can they take full advantage of the rainy run back to start the second half? On the run, ducking, and Roethlisberger is sacked again. Tuck.
How about that? That's about the thing about this Giants defensive line. Good coverage that time down the field. But you can fool them. You can get by them, but they can recover. Justin Tuck, one of those guys. Look at the coverage in the middle of the field. 2 receivers, both covered. Nowhere to throw it.
Man, with that, they're going to bypass the field goal. Tuck's 2nd sack of the day. Had only 1 on the season coming in. Steelers are there to cover it up. It's Chris Carter who downs it. The Giants, first touch of the second half from the 7. After a fine punt by Butler. And it's Bradshaw exploding for 8. That's something else. The Steelers unable to take advantage of that kick return, produce anything.
Yeah, just hard to get their rhythm. The screen game, which is such a big part for the Steeler offense, Jim, with Antonio Brown out, he is the wide receiver they like to throw those screens to. So him not there takes away a big part of what they like to do on 1st and 2nd down. Nice counter run by the Giants on 1st down.
2nd and 1, sidestepping and making the move for the first. That's Ryan Monday who came up to make the tackle, as Will Allen is out at the moment. So again, thin in that secondary, particularly at safety already. And Ryan Monday is on the field instead of Will Allen. Tomorrow, 2 broke girls meet Cedric the Entertainer. A new episode of the hit comedy Tomorrow, only CBS America's #1 network. Now here's the Giants. There's Monday, who average almost 400 yards a game total offense. They were held under 100 in that first half.
Hey, 3 down, 50 to Mike. On the hop, come on, set.
On 1st down, lobbing it open, and it's Bennett with the grab. And all the way to the Pittsburgh side of the field.
Interesting what the Giants did. They put the running back out wide, and that gives Bennett that whole side of the field and the lane to go to. Watch what they do. Here's the running back. Now he's just going to go right up the seam. And well designed. The Giants, we heard it. Jim, you heard me talk about it. Ryan Clark said, don't let them go vertical. That really means the inside receiver and the tight end, Martellus Bennett.
That goes for 33. And now Andre Brown runs into Ryan Monday and Ziggy Hood. Gain of 4.
Good job. Will Allen comes back in the game, Jim, after looking like maybe a little shoulder injury. Good job by Ryan Monday coming up there and stopping that run.
There you see 97 yards in the first half, already 50 on a drive that started back at the 7. There's Will Allen.
And don't forget the Giants had those 2 big pass interference penalties too. So
yeah.
you don't get credit for yards for those type of plays or penalties.
They were worth the 2 combined, 87 yards. Eli lobs it over. Hinoski has it for 7.
Right, best play of the day for Eli Manning. I think he sees the blitz. It's coming free, and he goes to the opposite side of the field to throw it to his fullback. Talked about Henry Hinoski. Had a tremendous game last year in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and has kind of carried over into this year. Very good lead blocker, can protect the quarterback on third downs when he's in there. Valuable part of the offense.
Bradshaw. Give him 3. Well, Eli is 19 yards away from 30,000 on his career. He came in here 2 touchdown passes away from tying you for the Giants franchise record, 199 career touchdown throws. I thought for sure it would happen with you in attendance, or in fact 3 to break the record.
You can't wait for it.
You
and Eli were having so much fun talking about that yesterday. I was just listening and taking a beating. It was good.
It would be fitting for it to happen with you in attendance. 2nd and 7. And that is scuffed right away by Ryan Clark. Bradshaw had nowhere to go.
Listen, every record any quarterback has ever had here with the Giants, it's going down. He's going to own them all. I mean, I'm a little concerned he's got to pick up the pace to break my interception record, but if he plays long enough, I think he can get that one too. But Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin, the Giant organization, they have been outstanding. How to groom a quarterback, make him a franchise player. He has the talent and the will to get it done, and it's worked to perfection here in New York.
3rd and 6. Plus it would have been fitting too. Could still get there on your birthday weekend, partner.
There you go.
As Manning down the middle, incomplete. He's going for Cruz.
Well, Victor Cruz, can't blame him. These rules nowadays, it's hard to hit the receivers high, but he is going right into trouble. And it's coming. Ryan Clark is coming from the other side. So he's trying to catch it and get down, not able to do so.
Of course, Cruz bruised ribs in the first half. But still playing. 50-yard try this time for Lawrence Tynes. And this time, plenty of distance. Tynes with his 25th make of the year. Just game number 9 after making 19 all of last year.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Farmers. Find a knowledgeable local farmers agent at farmers.com. We are insurance. We are farmers. And by Volkswagen. It's not the miles, it's how you live them.
Back here at MetLife Stadium. The Giants coming in 4-game winning streak. Steelers having won their last 2. And there's Rainey.
Kicking it away from him.
Yep, got their attention for sure. Takes it on one hop. Got flagged down. And the Steelers are going to start in very poor field. Have a very poor
personal
field
foul
position here.
Inside block, number 45 of the receiving team. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Well, it's called on Leonard Pope.
It's a good call. Going back towards his own end zone and blindsiding the defensive player.
Spot the ball at the 6. Second time Pittsburgh has been backed up at this end of the field. The first series of the game, in fact, started at the 2. Redmond is moving in on a 100-yard day. We're going to go up top. And Cotchery. Gain 6.
Well, Jericho Cotchery, really what he did there is just kind of run the Hines Ward route. Get 3 receivers in a group, let them expand, somebody hook up in the middle of them, and that was Jericho Cotchery that time.
Moving the pile and picking up 3 with a flag. Redmond got within a yard of the first.
Illegal use of the hands to the face, number 94 defense. 5-yard penalty enforced from the end of the run. First out.
Matthias Kiwanuka on that penalty. You know, Jim, he's an interesting player when you look at him. Number 94 on the outside, got his hands on the face of Johnson. Yes, a stand-up linebacker, plays defensive tackle in pass rushing situations. Not many guys in the NFL can say they can do that.
One of those who had his home flooded this week. Hurricane Sandy, Kiwanuka, and here's Roethlisberger intercepted. It's Webster.
I'm telling you, he throws this interception because he steps up in the pocket and he thinks he's going to get hit from behind. I can just tell by the whole body language. He steps up, he knows where they're going to hit, and he makes the decision too fast and throws it right to Corey Webster. And you know, why does he feel that? Well, because he's been hit a few times in this game from behind. They've been close. He knows it. He wants to get rid of the football, and the Giants are all over the route run by the Steelers.
And that's one thing you had talked a lot about this week, was how seldom Roethlisberger's been hit this year by comparison to other seasons.
It's been tremendous. They've kept him healthy.
Brown. Ball comes out when he hit the ground. I believe they rule him down on the field.
Contact, hit the ground. The ground cannot cause a fumble. And there was definitely some contact before he went down.
Mike Taylor.
Good blocking there, gives Brown, Andre Brown. Boy, he's got really good feet.
Of course, Brown fell on it anyway.
So dangerous. So many players now leave their feet. Wide receivers, running backs, jumping over. It's just, when you're a good player, you owe it to the team to keep your feet on the ground as much as you can.
On 2nd and 7. Cruz. Little salsa step right there. And tried to slash outside, but Taylor stayed with it. First, though, he danced away from Ryan Clark.
That's a pretty quick feat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That's it. You see why he's so good. Eli Manning gets it out of his hand quick. They're playing soft. A lot of space for Victor Cruz. Tell you what, though, that's a good tackle, too. The Steeler team, when you have speed and these type of players, they are good tacklers. That's part. You don't play safety corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers unless you can make tackles in the open field. You don't get it done, they'll put you on the bench. Challenge the spot, maybe?
Pittsburgh is challenging the forward progress ruling.
Interesting little challenge here.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Audi, Truth in Engineering, and by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Back here on the field, they had given Cruz enough yardage for the first down, but then Tomlin said, you know what, we want to challenge this. And Cruz, I think he's going to win this challenge.
I think you're right. He, on his own, went backwards.
After reviewing the play, the runner went behind the first down line and was contacted with the ball just inside the 24-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and short inside the 24. Pittsburgh will not be charged a timeout.
All right, a win on that occasion for Coach Tomlin.
Yep, and I understand now. It's I don't know if I'd have made that call, but it's 3rd and 1. You're down 17-10. Points are so hard for the Steeler offense. He sees an opportunity here to stop a drive by the Giants, so he took it. You know, Jim, you and I have talked to Mike Tomlin a few times about these decisions during the game, and he does a lot of things by feel and by his gut, so he made the right call.
And he's often right.
Eli Manning has not hit a 3rd down pass today.
They got Brown, Andre Brown lined up behind Manning. And they just basically nullify that challenge that was won as Andre Brown picks up 8.
How about those feet? Andre Brown, a backup running back. We talked about it, getting the opportunity and just waits, sees it, and able to go sideways and then go forward full speed. That's just like probably one of the number one components of an NFL running back. Can you step sideways, then go forward without losing momentum of the play? And he did not that time.
So the Giants have a first down at the 16. Timeout. Eli Manning.
Didn't give it to him.
Didn't get it in time.
First down.
Didn't beat the play clock.
Now, there's a lot to do for a quarterback out there. They have these the play clocks everywhere. They have them on the field. They got them on the sides. They got them up high so you don't get blocked by defenders. You're thinking a lot, and every once in a while you see even a guy like Eli Manning forget about the play clock.
Boy, reaching out and grabbing that with Larry Foote right in front of him. Picks up 7.
A good catch by Victor Cruz. It was crowded. Larry Foote. How about this old guy, Jim? I mean, he is everywhere again today. Haven't talked about him as much. He's made some plays, tackles. And in the last few weeks, he has been one of the outstanding defenders on the field for the Steelers.
Yeah, he's their top tackler on the season. Second down and 8 from the 14.
Now this look, you do this, fake the inside blitz so you can get maybe a running back on a linebacker. Didn't work.
Nix at the 10. Nix inside the 5 and pushed out of bounds.
Giants ready for that look. We're not fooled. They block it up, and look at the soft coverage. And when you get a big receiver, which just about every team in the league has now, they're capable of taking short passes and muscling their way for a first down.
Yeah, look at this straight arm on Lewis, which also ends up in the end taking out Cortez Allen.
Well, when Akeem Nicks gets back in full stride with the rest of the receivers, Martellus Bennett, the offensive line pass protection, pretty tough.
That was his first catch. Andre Brown, right tackle, stacked up near the 2. Woodley and a whole support team back him up.
I thought it was interesting. We talked to Eli Manning. What was he telling you? That, playing the Steelers, he went back to what, 2008? He watched one of his games in.
Yeah, that's the last time he played the Steelers, and said basically running the same thing with the same players.
Yeah, that's what's the same defense, same defensive coordinator, and a lot of the same guys are still over there on the film he was watching from 2008.
Second and goal. And Brown taken down by Ryan Clark, and Ike Taylor also converging.
Well, we talked about it. These guys can tackle. Ryan Clark, smart football player, sees it coming. How about the reaction? And the big thing is the corner, Ike Taylor, really created a play because he wasn't going to let the running back get outside, and then Ryan Clark makes the tackle.
So the Steelers defense has made a couple of plays here. And from inside the 5, it's 3rd and goal. Manning lost it, end zone, and incomplete. Going to Reuben Randall.
I thought for sure when they sent Cruz in motion that's who they wanted to throw it to. Here comes Cruz all the way across. Eli Manning takes the easy throw, tries to hit the big wide receiver for a fade. Was Cruz open? Doesn't look like it. Steelers all over him. Good decision by Manning to make that throw.
Eli's pass to Nix put him over 30,000 on his career. Here's Tynes, the first Scottish-born player in NFL history. Raised down in Florida, though. And he drills another one. From 23 out. Some of the stellar performances from early today around the league. How about Andrew Luck? Rookie single-game passing record in their victory over Miami. Peyton and the Broncos win on the road. And the Ravens, who were up 14-0 on Cleveland, then found themselves down 15-14 in the fourth, came back to win it. And there you see, Luck, 433 yards, 5-3 on the season.
Well, they said Bruce Arians talked to him before the season. He said, hey, we'll see you in the playoffs. That's what they thought their football team, they believed.
Rainey for any kind of seam, and the Giants shut it down at the 25. In honor of Veterans Day, for every point scored during the NFL's 32 Salute to Service games, the league will donate $100 to each of its nonprofit partners, the Pat Tillman Foundation, USO, and Wounded Warrior Project. To join the salute and learn more, visit NFL.com/salute.
20-10, Jim. Not an automatic passing situation, of course, for your football team. Oh, Chris Rainey's still down on the field. But the pressure, I was going to say, the pressure kind of goes to this offensive line.
He got tackled in the middle of the field, and then as he was making his way to the sideline, a yard off the sideline, he got hit, he said, in the middle of the field on this short return.
Wow, it gets piled onto, that's for sure.
Wobbly as he made his way to the sideline. I mean, these injuries that continue to mount at the running back position for the Steelers, with Dwyer stepping up so big the last couple of weeks, 100-yard performances, and out today with a quad, and Rashard Mendenhall coming off the ACL injury at the end of last season and gets back into action and strains an Achilles in a game down at Tennessee on a Thursday night. Redmond's been out the last 2 games with an ankle. Some of the key injuries include also Gilbert, their starting right tackle. Polamalu hasn't had a chance to really play all that much this season. He's been active only 2 games. Saturday, the Home Depot SEC on CBS brings you a doubleheader. Razorbacks battle the Gamecocks, and the Texas A&M Aggies will challenge the Crimson Tide here on CBS. Yeah, the players are huddled in prayer, just a few steps away from Rainey. Rainey has just now been helped to his feet.
Well, another key component to this offense, Chris Rainey, Antonio Brown, you just said it. The 2 starting running backs, their top 2 out. Starting right tackle out. Giant defensive line getting that extra little time because of the good coverage down the field. They're taking advantage of it, hitting Roethlisberger, sacking him 4 times.
Redmond slashing off left guard, and he gains 3. They need to get Mike Wallace going, and even though Cottry's done a commendable job out there today filling in for Antonio Brown, the team doesn't feel the same. Just looking at them, it's just not as dynamic without Antonio Brown. Yeah, no doubt.
There's no doubt. And your top 2 running backs, but the biggest thing, I'm giving the credit to this Giant defense and the defensive pressure that even Ben Roethlisberger, it wasn't there, but he felt it. That's what caused his interception.
On 2nd and 7. There's Wallace. Wallace takes a blow and that flag's coming out for that. Antrell Roll. There is a flag down in that area.
Let's see if they pick it up. Because Wallace was getting up. If he was sitting on the ground and didn't try to jump up, you're not allowed to go in there and really attack him.
There is no foul for playing big head late.
That was a good job by Bill Levy getting everybody together. They discussed it. Boy, beautiful throw by Ben Roethlisberger.
Here's what you're talking about. He's trying to climb to his feet.
Yep.
And he's bounced back after a gain of 15.
Stay patient with the run game for the Steelers.
On the toss, Redmond. Umanura is there to bring him down. 2-yard gain. And that's going to bring us to the end of the third quarter with the score of the Giants 20 and the Steelers 10. We'll return after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. On our way to beginning the fourth quarter as they're about to take Rainey in on the cart. Giants in that quarter, as you see the numbers. A couple of field goals by Lawrence Tynes. He's the first kicker since the 1970 NFL-AFL merger to reach 100 points in the first 9 games of a season. 2nd and 8. And the Steelers trying to pound it straight ahead with Redmond.
Big story of the game today, Jim. Steelers offensive line, when they had to, could they protect Ben Roethlisberger? And I'd say overall the answer is no. The pressure by the Giants, to me, is the difference in this football game. Justin Tuck not getting as many snaps as he's gotten in the past, but boy, he's taking advantage of them. The Giants, they rotate these defensive linemen, keep them fresh, and have them ready for late in the year.
3rd and 5. That last carry by Redmond put him over 100. And the move by Wallace is going to pick up the first down and a whole lot more. Turning on the afterburners to the end zone and a touchdown.
That was unbelievable.
That was a gear seldom do you see someone kick it into that kind of speed zone.
Not in this league. He's just going to go up, come across. You watch it and watch the speed of Mike Wallace. NFL defensive backs have the angle, and he can still outrun them.
51 yards.
Well, now you understand why the Steelers like to get the football out of Roethlisberger's hand and get it to these guys quick, because they can make big plays.
Mike Tomlin once told us he's ridiculously fast. His 29th career touchdown, his 9th one of at least 50. Before that incredible burst by Mike Wallace, the Steelers did not have a play that had gone for even 25 yards today. He takes it 51 for a touchdown, and suddenly it's a 3-point game.
Yeah, that might be about as fast as I've ever seen anybody run on an NFL field. And that's, I'm not exaggerating. That was.
It was.
I said, oh, he might get the first down. Oh, he's going. Oh,
yeah. He had to make a move to pick up the first down, and he did. And then, of course, he has to go turn the corner with all these DBs that have the angle on them. Still outrace them.
It's like a home run hitter.
Sweeps him. Sends it down to Wilson. Mundy had him for a moment, then he cuts outside. And he's bounced out of bounds, and there was contact maybe a little too late, or maybe was it a face mask?
I think you're right. It's a face mask on the sideline. It's not bad, but it's enough.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, 15 yards, first down.
Well, Jim, let's look at that touchdown. The Giants trying to create a little pressure. Here comes the blitz. Here comes another guy. You're going to watch. Nobody's really blocked. Roethlisberger knows, throws probably the quick route inside. Look at everybody chasing him. Mosley, Prince and Mukamara, nobody able to get the angle and catch Mike Wallace.
Off the fingertips of Cruz. Once Wallace caught it, how long did it take him to find the end zone? In case you were wondering, check out this sim spotlight.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
Someone suggesting it may have been wind aided. Okay. Second down and 10. And Bradshaw stacked up for a loss.
Casey Hampton. You know, there's a lot of talk. The Steeler defense, is it rounding into shape? Are we going to see the old Steeler defense? I think there is a chance. And I start by looking at Casey Hampton. Looks like he's healthy. Back to doing what he does inside. And that's just create a mess. And Brett Kiesel, he's the other one that doing a lot of good stuff, allowing the linebackers to run free and make plays.
Eli faces a 3rd and 11. He has not completed a pass today on 3rd down. He's 0 for 5. He's got heat, and he is sacked. The Pittsburgh defense comes up with a big one. Timmons.
Good job by Lawrence Timmons. Just seeing it, and then when Eli moves, it gives him a free lane to get to the quarterback. 94 is the guy. The coverage down the field is just, it's awesome. Overall today, these defensive backs for the Steelers, they have been good. We talked about it, Jim. They probably had to be great to give the Steelers a chance to win. They're close to it.
Boy, that was a very short series for the Giants. First time the Steelers have sacked Eli in their 3rd matchup ever against them. Emmanuel Sanders comes in on the return, and he's got daylight. He's got the punter ahead of him. And a good job of cutting off the angle by Weatherford.
Great job by Weatherford. He is a tremendous athlete, and he played it just right. Gave ground, protected the angle, and stopped the touchdown.
Emmanuel Sanders is returning because Antonio Brown has been injured in this game.
And you watch. Sanders is trying to square it up here because he wants to make a move, but Weatherford did it. Boy, that was a good job by him. Good footwork, and knocks him out of bounds.
Weatherford stood his ground after a 52-yard punt, a 63-yard return, though. And the Steelers have the football at the 13.
Special teams by the Steelers today. How about their return game?
Well, Rainey on some kickoff returns. And now Sanders pinch hitting for Brown with a big one. Redmond right into the center of the line. Body's tangled up. Give him 2.
Good job by Jason Pierre-Paul stopping that. Overloading the left side. They're just going to try to power the football in there. And Jason Pierre-Paul, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL and good against the run too.
Pierre-Paul signaling to the 80,000 plus. A little reinforcement. Where Heath Miller is so dangerous. And they go to Miller. Knocked back about a yard shy of a first.
Ben Roethlisberger makes the decision, makes it fast. Watch 83 across the ball, and it just gets it in there. Mosley, 28, almost knocks it down. Good job of catching it and holding on to it by Heath Miller.
Third and 1. Fake right to Redmond, and he's tripped up and stopped short. What a tackle by Roll.
Interesting play there. I'm not sure that's what he designed. They wanted to do this. He comes right off of it, finds Redmond, but how about Antrell Roll? What a play by him.
Now what will they do?
I'm not sure who called this, Jim, but I'm sure Mike Tomlin wants a mark.
Yeah, they're going to get a measurement.
Or a measurement, I should say. Because that's going to form his opinion.
Now, do you go ahead and tie it, or do you go for it?
Well, I'm on the sideline. I'm Mike Tomlin. It's going to take me a while.
He's going to go for the tie.
He's going to kick it, and I don't blame him. Usually I'm pretty quick with decisions up here, but I had to think about that one.
Well, he's going to send out, squeeze him.
You know, honestly, Jim, going back, when you see Roethlisberger under the center and there's no pullback in the game, that eliminated the fact that they might run it twice and try to do it that way. I'm not sure. Roethlisberger could have checked to the play that we saw that he threw to Redmond. Giants had everybody inside and they stopped it.
From the left hash mark, a mere extra point distance, 20 yards. And they run the fake over to Sweezum, and Sweezum is tackled short of the first. Michael Coe read it. A little toss back, and the kicker is brought down by Coe. Giants deny him.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the all-new Honda Accord. It starts with you. 1&1 My Website, where creating a business website is easy. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
The fake field goal, read by the Giants defense, and they take over now. New York at the 4-yard line. 3 drives today, starting in Giant territory for Pittsburgh. No points on those 3 drives. First it was Weatherford who made the tackle, the saving tackle on the punt return.
They gave the Giants a chance. They're thinking, well, we can hold them to a field goal. The fake field goal, Jim. How about Michael Cole to the outside? Never loses containment. The Giants were not rushing to block that field goal. I'm sure the Steelers thought it was going to be a cinch. Going to walk in untouched. Now it's up to the defense to hold them here.
2nd and 9. Down the field. Contact. It's Keenan Lewis again. Defending on Hakeem Nicks. For those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS. Steelers and Giants. Jim Nantz here with Bill Sims. 60 minutes will be seen immediately after the game, except on the West Coast, where it'll be seen at its normal time. Well, that's the kind of thing, you know, that play, you've scouted that how many times you think? You practiced it, scouted it.
You think it's going to work, of course, Jim. That's why you call it. But you call it also because you believe in your defense. You go, we're playing great. If it doesn't work, can we hold them down there and get good field position?
3rd and 9. The tackle was made. A must tackle by Ryan Clark on Martellus Bennett, and they do, in fact, do their job.
They do hold. This defense is hot. I mean, they got it right now. They got the rhythm. The Giants can't find any way to get their rhythm. They can't do it with the running game. And Dick LeBeau has got to be very happy with the pass coverage. The Steelers on defense, #1 in the NFL against the pass. We're seeing why.
2nd straight 3 and out for the Giants. Weatherford to punt it to Sanders, who's waiting near the 50. They'll have to retreat to the 38. Straight ahead. He was ruled down, I believe. After a 55-yard punt, yes indeed. 11-yard run back. Steelers have it near midfield. In the Steelers division, Baltimore has won. Cincinnati and Cleveland have lost today. Pittsburgh needs to win here or will be 2 games back of the Ravens. They'll see Baltimore 2 of the next 4 games. Starting at the 49 with Redmond. Somehow unable to get away from a couple of hits, including Pierre Paul, and spinning over to the Giants side of the field for 3. You can help the victims of disasters like the Superstorm Sandy by texting Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. CBS Cares. As now Redmond hobbles to the sideline. Eli Manning at his home, not even 10 miles from here. The flooding, the loss of power. He's had to stay in a hotel this week. Baron Batch now. They don't have any other options at running back. Miller down to the 33. 14 yards on that one.
So much what we're seeing is why Mike Tomlin probably called that fake field goal. Trust his defense. The offense has got a little rhythm going, and what they're doing too, they are double teaming Jason Pierre-Paul every chance they get. That time Baron Batch came over, helped get the block on him, allowed Ben Roethlisberger to throw the football to Heath Miller.
Redmond's on the sideline with his helmet on. Again, Rainey was taken to the locker room. And here is Baron Batch. Inside the 30. And a gain of 4 for the second year back out of Texas Tech. And here comes Redmond returning. It was given the Steelers a 100-yard rusher for the 3rd straight week. First 2 were Dwyer, absent today, and now Redmond.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer now this Pittsburgh running game has a chance to come back. What I've seen in the previous games, the way they're showing their power today.
On 2nd and 6. Wide open. That's Country. Kamara shoves him out of bounds. Another 12-yard gainer.
Yep, they're playing soft coverage on the outside. There's nobody open to the left. So Ben Roethlisberger looks to his outlet, which is Kotri. Nice catch and run.
Since throwing that interception earlier in this half, Roethlisberger's hit his last 6 throws. He's got a new set of downs at the Giants 17. Again, working the middle of the field, up the gut for 3.
This is the Steeler offense that I've kind of seen so many games watching them. They keep you off balance, and that's the whole idea, Jim. Todd Haley, new offensive coordinator. You know, a little criticism, people going, oh, it's dink and dunk. And I go, well, I don't care what you call it. I like it. Quarterback's not getting hit. They get the football to the wide receivers, and they're regaining this running game. What do you want? Protecting the offensive line, too. Keeps them aggressive by running the ball.
On 2nd and 7. Oh, Johnson couldn't hold on to it.
Well, fullbacks, tough. It's tough for them to catch the football when they run because their job is so one-dimensional. It's always blocking for the running back or protecting the quarterback.
Need to get to the 7 for a first. And on 3rd down they go draw. Redmond is going to be stopped short. But there is a flag on the far side of the field.
Everybody's asking, what do you think to do? If they
Offside. Number 28, defense, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, third down.
Hosley trying to be aggressive. The Giants were trying to be aggressive to make Roethlisberger hold the football if he passed. That's why Hosley was probably offsides. Just hit it 28. Oh, he crossed the line of scrimmage because he wanted to bump the wide receiver. You bump him, you cover him, the defensive line maybe can hit the quarterback.
Again, this is where he loves to team up with Miller. He's got Redmond lined up behind him. 3rd and 2. They'll go ground, and he squeezes out of first. And more. Down to the 1.
No messing around that time, was there? You make a decision, run it with power. How about the blocking on the front side? Marquise Pouncey gets all the way over there. The center. Mike Adams, big, does a good job, and really, the running backs, Isaac Redmond just knows who he is, that's for sure. He runs straight ahead, uses his big body, breaks tackles, and gets the extra yard.
Inside 4.5. Steelers 1st and goal, trying to take the lead. Roethlisberger still has it and throws it over the head of Paulson. Nothing was there.
Oh, that was a great fake.
That was.
I mean,
Yeah,
it really was.
was.
Great fake, perfect time to call it, and how about the Giants?
Such a good fake, you would have thought someone might be wide open.
What's the jump? Good coverage, though. Know your job, just do it.
2nd and goal. Redmond weaving, reaching, and finding the end zone. Touchdown Steelers.
Hey, Jim, it's something else. Good blocking once again. Johnson gets a good block on Sash, but there's a touchdown, breaks the plane. The Steelers, whatever running back they're putting in there, they're getting it done. Really a terrific game today by Isaac Redmond.
14 points unanswered in quarter number 4. Redmond puts Pittsburgh on top.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway Restaurants. Get your own tender, juicy Subway steak melt today. And by Verizon. Now more than ever, Droid does.
Back, and the Giants have surrendered a 10-point lead in this final quarter. There's Isaac Redmond, career highs for him, 24 rushes, most ever, and 121 yards. Career number as well, and a touchdown now to put him in front. Wilson zigs and zags and spins with a flag on the field.
Holding, number 39 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
And tackled by Cortez Allen, but Tyler Sash called for the penalty. Inside the NFL Wednesday, JB, Phil, Chris Collinsworth coming off of record ratings on last Wednesday on Showtime as Phil missed the show. Could not get home from our game at London from Wembley Stadium. Did not get home until late Wednesday night. And Mike Lombardi so ably filling in for you.
He did a good job. So they have record ratings though this week.
That's what I hear.
Okay.
Through the roof.
It's through the roof. I hear you. I'm not surprised.
Giants penalty backs him up to the 12. And that pass in the area of Victor Cruz. We got an update. Let's go to James Brown in the studio.
Hey, Jim, a barn burner in Oakland.
That's right, JB. Carson Palmer throws his 4th touchdown pass of the day, 13 yards to Marcel Reese. Carson Palmer, 38 of 57, 409 yards and 4 TDs. Bucks lead 35-32.
Record ratings on Showtime, Jim, because Phil tuned in from London. Back to Jim Nance. That's Phil Sims.
Okay, JB. You didn't have to jump in there too, but that's good. Big stuff. Victor Cruz, I think he ran the wrong route in the last play.
2nd and 10. Ball the middle and off the hands of Bennett. Eli under big time pressure.
Yeah, this was just like Ben Roethlisberger when he threw his interception. It's, as a quarterback, it's a panic throw. You can't take these chances. Look at the coverage down the field. There's nothing. Throws it high. Lucky, really lucky to get away with it.
That was Lawrence Timmons, who came crashing in, hurtled past one lineman. Olamalu looking on, wishing he could be out there. This is his kind of moment.
Looks like it could be a blitz.
3rd and 10. Again, pressure, the ball comes out. They're going to rule it. It looks like a fumble on the field.
Oh, you got to fall on it. You got to fall on it. James Harrison tries to pick it up in the middle of the field. Big guys fall on it. Small guys pick it up and run. James Harrison is a big guy. Is it a fumble? Yes. The arm comes forward without the football.
Forced by Woodley right here. So the ball was out, it was loose, and Pittsburgh looked like it had a play on it. Instead, Booth recovered it, and now Weatherford will punt. 1-2 is where he uncorks it. Sanders. Giants have him covered up this time. We got a flag here at the other end of the field. We got 2 players tangled. It was a 51-yard punt.
No, that was a...
Brandon Johnson saying, what I do.
During the return, holding. Number 91 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
It's called on Johnson right there. He was tangled up with Michael Boley. Next week, regional action on CBS, including Peyton Manning and the Broncos taking on Cam Newton in Carolina. We'll be down there for that one in Charlotte. Some late, we'll see the Jets against Seattle for their game. It all begins with the NFL today, noon Eastern time, presented by Southwest Airlines. Next Sunday on CBS.
So maybe if I don't show up for next week's game, would it be record-breaking record again, huh? Well, yeah.
I'm not asking to find out. I enjoy the journey with you, my man. 9 years of it now.
Well, big stuff right here. Steelers, Giants, both have all the timeouts. 2-minute warning. So the Steelers, you just want to get that 1 first down.
After 3 straight 3-and-outs by the Giants offense, here is Batch getting the carry for 3. Got a timeout called by New York. How about this 4th quarter action? This was the play that turned the whole game around in many ways.
Yeah, it sure was. It just gave them hope. They finally made the big play. They're in position. They take the gamble. It doesn't work. But the defense does its job. And Isaac Redman, how about him today? That's just... I marvel at so many players, Jim, in the NFL, and we've seen a lot of it this year by both of these teams. When players get a chance, do they take advantage of it? The answer is yes. Running backs, wide receivers.
Redmond's back in. 1st down belonged to Batch. Giants use the first timeout. Now it's Redmond. And he's going to be backed up. Pierre Paul smothers him for a loss of 2, and another timeout called by New York.
Well, Giants play and run all the way, crowd the line of scrimmage, and when you break it outside, how about that? Pierre Paul once again not only can do all the other good technique, stops the bounce to the outside by Redmond.
Now in the Giants division, they open the day with a 2.5 game lead. Philadelphia plays against New Orleans tomorrow night. Dallas is Atlanta this evening. And the Redskins fell today to Carolina to slump to 3-6. Third down coming up.
Yeah, I think you need to throw it. There's no doubt. There's plenty of time. If you run it just to make the Giants use their last timeout, I don't think it's a factor.
Good time and an open man and a first down for Pittsburgh. Sanders.
How about that route? The protection was outstanding. They kept extra guys in. That's what you do. Tight ends in. So let's get double blocking. It's a go across the middle and stop. I believe that is the route by Sanders. It was designed. You don't see that too often. It takes a lot of time. I'll tell you when the last time I saw him do this, I know they've done it, was in the Super Bowl against the Cardinals on the last drive of the game when they won it.
Well, they gave Ben the time he needed on that one, and he finds Sanders for 16. The Giants have just used their last timeout with 2:23 to play.
And they did. You said protection was such a key. Look at Ben Roethlisberger, third down passing, just outstanding. But to run a route like that, which is unique, Jim, with Sanders, you need the extra protection. Todd Haley gave it to his quarterback, and he hung in there and delivered right on the money.
Again, the Giants can't stop the clock. They'll have the 2-minute warning to their benefit. That's it.
You put two arms around this, you don't fight for an extra yard under no circumstances.
Oh, look out. Redmond got another first down. Switches hands with the football and takes it to the 26. Isaac Redmond for 28 yards. And we reach the 2-minute warning.
Well, there's no reason to hand this football off. Okay, the Steelers are going to do that. You look at the clock, you manage the time. That's all you have to do to win the game.
Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes. Green Bay's MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers, an interview you don't want to miss, followed by new episodes of Amazing Race, Good Wife, and The Mentalist here on America's #1 network.
Steelers defense was outstanding, covering the Giant receivers down the field, and they got pressured late when it counted most. And how about this Steelers offensive line? I thought they were losing the battle for almost 3 quarters, but when the pressure's on, they got it done.
All the way down to 1 second on the play clock. And we talked to Mike Tomlin about coming in here and realizing he was coming into an area that has suffered so much hardship in the last week. And he said, we hope we can just give people some entertainment for 3 or 4 hours, sensitive to all of the
Well,
really
one of the
tough times around here.
Jim, they said one of the reasons they didn't come into Jersey City to stay at the hotel, they said, keep the food in the beds for people who need it. We'll be okay.
And again, that was what Coach Tomlin had said. And then there was Tom Coughlin, who talked about his team hoping that they could be an inspiration to everyone here in the area. The Giants, with anything but a normal week, really didn't come back to work until Wednesday. The Giants had scored in 26 consecutive games in the fourth quarter, had the longest active streak in the league. Today in the fourth quarter, 3 possessions, all 3 or 3 plays and a punt.
Of course, you got to say one more time, Isaac Redmond, basically the third string running back for the Steelers, the offensive line, their running game being physical, it paid off.
Those 2 quarterbacks who came out of the same draft, 2 of the 3 active quarterbacks with at least 2 Super Bowl titles. And Roethlisberger leads the Steelers from behind today, from 20-10 down going into the 4th. Pittsburgh takes it. Coming up next, 60 Minutes. A new Amazing Race, The Good Wife, The Mentalist. For Phil Simms and all the crew, Jim Nantz saying so long. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.